Good afternoon, happy Monday, and welcome to Power Talk. I am your host, Jean Adrienne, and I am delighted that you've chosen to spend some time on this Monday with me. I've got a very special guest joining me today. Her name is Simran Singh. She is a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for eons and lifetimes and all of that kind of cool stuff, and I am so thrilled that you are here with me today, Simmy.
Oh, it's wonderful to be with you, Jean, always.
Yeah, so Simran is an author. She has hosted the #1 show on Voice America for how many years now?
It's probably been 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, that's how we first met. So I guess that's how long I've known you. And her show is called 1111, and she also produces a magazine called 1111 Magazine. And so why don't we start off by telling the viewers about this 1111 thing. Where did that come from?
Sure. 1111 was a prompt that started for me 10 years ago. And I started seeing the numbers about 25, 30 times a day. I had a point in my life where I was really asking questions, asking for guidance, asking if there was more out there. And it just started showing up. And I received guidance to move forward on a path of sharing spirituality and life enhancement and oneness and the expressions of love. Through self-healing first, and then global healing that followed.
Yeah, and we've been on similar paths, I guess parallel paths, for many years. And always we seem to, we might diverge for a while, we come back together, and your messages are so strong, so profound, and so deep. And your first book was called Conversations with the Universe, right?
Yes, Conversations with the Universe was about the signs and symbols and synchronicities that show up to guide us every step of the way. We're all getting them. We get conversations all the time. You know that. You talk about that yourself. And it was interesting to find out how many ways the universe was speaking to me. It started as the 1111. But as I asked to be shown, what are all the different ways that we are taught to? And I started to discover that it's really in everything. It's in the ordinary. It is in the mundane. It is in absolutely everything that surrounds us. But we kind of walk through life without realizing that all of those things are significant in their own way. And if we started listening to the various signs and symbols in our lives, we're actually being spoken to in large volumes, paragraphs. We are getting the guidance and the answers that we need on an ongoing basis. And it's about centering and getting inside and really having that conversation with life and understanding that we are co-creating with life and it is guiding us every step of the way.
Yeah, and I think that it's so easy for us to get, hypnotized by the mundane. And we just think that a bird is just a bird, or a thing on a digital clock is just a thing on the digital clock telling us what time it is. And so we get lulled into a sense of complacency, or I have in the past gotten lulled into a sense of complacency by those simple things that were trying to wake me up and show me something so much more profound.
Well, the fascinating thing is I think most people do continuously ask for or pray for answers. They are always looking for something. They're wanting a sign when it's right around us all the time. So it's like we're reaching and calling, but we're not picking up the phone.
Yeah.
And that's the fascinating thing, because if we simply would become more present, if we simply would know that everything is part of the divine plan, that everything has its own significance and meaning, and we've attracted it into our lives regardless of what it is, then all of a sudden we'll realize how supported we truly are.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps, for sure that everybody's got their own path. It's a unique path. And some of us are called to serve. Some of us are called to be. And that's okay. I mean, it just kind of is what it is. But the one thing that I've noticed over time is that if the signs and the symbols are being presented to me and I'm not paying attention, pretty soon the universe gets the 2x4 and I get whacked upside down.
Yes, I say that things come in pebble, rock, and boulder size. And so if we don't pay attention to the pebbles, we'll get that rock. And if we don't pay attention to the rocks, then the boulder will most definitely come our way. And it's loving. It may not look like something that we want, and it may not feel the best at times, But in the universe's infinite wisdom and in its unconditional love, sometimes the most challenging, difficult, and even traumatic experiences, both personally and that we see in the world, are actually, unconditionally loving ways to redirect us and rebalance and guide us. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Do you believe that there's a divine plan that's in place for the whole of creation, but in particular for us individually?
That's the question that I would say to ask all the listeners the statement to say is, you either believe in a divine plan or you don't. If you don't, then everything is random and you really don't have any control and you're kind of in a crapshoot. If you do believe in a divine plan, then everything is a miracle. Everything is beautiful. Everything is actually for good. And that is the philosophy I ascribe to. I do believe that everything, no matter what it looks like, is part of the good and part of the balancing that we're here to experience.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. In fact, I just put out a newsletter a couple of hours ago, and the blog was called Destiny or Chance. And I think that's a choice that we each have to make. Are we going to follow the signs towards our destiny, or are we just going to throw it off as just a coinky dink?
Yes. And, even that in that respect, I'm in the process of writing my next books, and even in that respect, destiny in itself, it's already planned. We're watching a movie that has already been played. And we're living out a script that has already been designed. And so we can pretend that we have all this control in the world and that we have free will. My personal belief is that the free will was the choice to come, to experience. That the free will is not necessarily here. That all those things that we partake in, all those things that happen to us, were actually part of our divine plan. And so to look at anything in our life as a mistake or as a wrong step or as a wrongdoing, it kind of goes against the whole idea of the divine plan, because it was orchestrated in that way for a specific purpose, not just for us, but for the people around us, for the globe around us. We all are a special piece of this divine puzzle.
Yeah, I think we need to underline for some of the viewers who might not have heard this kind of talk before that we're not puppets in this divine plan. We wrote that plan before we came in.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, there's no one to blame but ourselves, and blame doesn't do any good anyway. And it's time for all of us to take responsibility for the script we wrote, right?
Well, the ultimate, goal for each one of us as we're here is love and forgiveness. And when we can forgive ourselves for the very creations that we made, we ultimately find a union and a communion with life that is so different than the struggle or the hardship or the regret or the guilt or shame that so many people carry around and live with. And when we can release all of those things, we actually release a lot of other things. We release illness, we release lack, we release limitation. But that is the inner work and the personal work that is required, that so many people run from and get distracted from. We live in a world where everyone is outer focused. Everyone is trying to get somewhere or attain something. Everyone's busy working or trying to build a business. Everyone is constantly running. And if more time were taken to step back and to actually witness life instead, we begin to create space for something else to come in. Otherwise, we're constantly running, and we think we're running to something, but what we're actually doing is running away from ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the other piece of this is that, we did craft a plan, but because it is our plan, at any point in time, we can change it. We're not only the writer of our play, but we're the producer and the director, and we have that ability to make changes, to pull out our pencil and erase things and write in new stuff if we want to.
Well, the beauty is it is such an organic and incredible adventure, and everything that falls in our path, it really is for us to experience. We are here as experiencing itself. We're not on a journey, we are the journey. And it's time to stop and slow down and experience every single piece as the journey, rather than trying to get to some destination.
Yeah, and if the viewers go back and look at the archives, they're going to see that in several of them. I have on my hoodie. That's one of my favorite things to wear when I'm doing the show. Is that so he produced a line of clothing. I think you still sell it now, right?
Yes. On the website at IamSimran.com, I've got the 1111 hoodie and the tanks and different things, and it says, "You're not on a journey; you are the journey." So, a good reminder.
Oh, absolutely. And I just love how people get really wrapped into that, when I wear it, and they go, "What?" Oh, because I have to turn around and show them the back. Absolutely. Yeah, so your second book was about love.
The second book was actually Your Journey to Enlightenment.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Third book was about love.
The third book was about love. Your Journey to Enlightenment was about stepping out of conformity and into courage. We have gotten so conditioned. We were brainwashed, all of us. From the time we stepped onto this planet, we were shown a different way. We adopted the lifestyle of the family that we came into. We started to believe the things that the society we belonged to told us, and we began living based on that. We developed an identity and a personality and lived out a script based on other people's ideas. And so this is about stepping out of that conditioning and that conformity and leaping back into being that divine child, and that looking at life from that place of wonder and curiosity and fearlessness that children have when they first come. Because we get blinders and filters, and our ears, kind of get deafened, and our eyes get glazed over after the many occurrences of life. And so we have to decondition ourselves from what we were conditioned into.
Yeah, and that's really all about figuring out our truth.
Yes.
Because I believe that you can't really fully begin to live until you are living your truth, until you know who you are, not what everybody else says you are.
Yes, and that truth might mean that the people that you were with don't come with you on the rest of your journey. You may end up with a different family than the one you were biologically assigned to. It might mean that you let go of a lot of things that you used to be, like careers or jobs or even images, that you step into new things. And it may happen many times over. We are going through constant cycles of birth and death. Death is just a symbol of moving into new life, but we do that over and over and over again in just one lifetime. I feel like I have lived 100 lifetimes in this lifetime, and and in the process of another death and rebirth. And it's because we are nature. We are just like nature, and we have to go through our seasons, our birth and our death.
Absolutely. And, I think that's one of the hardest things for people to actually come to grips with is that, we choose these families and we come in, and more often than not, we choose difficult families. Because if it was easy, why would we bother? You don't grow, I don't think, so much in the easy times. You grow through learning these harder lessons. And, I've had clients that I've worked with who were born into toxic families, and here they are in their 40s and their 50s, and their families are literally making them sick. And and they come to me for clearing and for support and trying to heal and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking of one client in particular that I've told this person, you've got to leave them. You need to cut this off, because it's killing you.
Well, and it's our attachments that are making us sick. It's not really even the other people. It's our attachment to the other people. It's our attachment to how they treat us. It's our attachment to the story that we have or have made up from our past. And so once we let go of our attachments, then all of a sudden so many other things can happen for us.
But so often, the people, the guilt around, but it's my mother. I can't abandon my mother. And like, honey, she's sucking the life out of you, so you need to make a choice. Is it going to be your loyalty to her or your loyalty to yourself?
Yes.
And that's a hard decision to make for many people.
It is a hard decision. That was why I wrote Your Journey to Love. And it was interesting that became the third book in the series, the first trilogy that I wrote, because so often we don't realize the many levels and layers of love. And That particular book actually was written 4 times before it actually reached the final piece, because love happens in those cycles. You learn, you think you're loving yourself, and then you hit up against something, you realize, oh, I wasn't really loving myself. There's still more to do. And it is a lifelong project. We're each here to truly keep stepping into deeper layers of love and ultimately embrace that shadow, ultimately embrace that wounded child, ultimately embrace the God within. You know, we have to marry the 3 of those and bring those together within us. And then we're living an aligned life where we can truly create the love that we want.
Yeah, and, I think you and I were chatting this morning, and I think you and I both, like many people out there, are in a process right now where everything's fluid. I don't really know quite where I'm headed. I feel pregnant. And I'm way too old for that. But I feel like something is birthing, and I don't know what it is. Do you relate to that at all?
I very much do. And fortunately, due to circumstances over the past few years, I've been able to slow down enough and step away from that mass consciousness of constantly staying busy and stepping back into opening to what you're calling that pregnancy, opening to that space to allow something new to come in. And a lot of people don't realize that you have to really sit in that, because impulses will come up, ideas will come up, and you'll think, oh, I've got to run, because you're conditioned into, I've got to go do that right now because I've just had the idea. But I've learned that if you step back and really hold the pause for as long as possible until you get not just the impulse, but this real knowing that this is it, then you do reach your ultimate place of what you're here to do. And it's not that won't change again, but you can sink into something that's really grounded and rooted for you, that you step into with passion and excitement once again.
Exactly. And one of the things that I have found personally is that when I do grab an idea and run with it before it's completely gestated, let's just use this pregnancy metaphor, that what ends up is that I end up with a creation, but I've settled for so much less than what it could have been had I actually let it come to full term.
Yes, and I think that's because we're so caught up in time. You know, we think when something happens, I don't have enough time, I need to get it done. But in actuality, we have to line up with the correct timing of something to occur.
Uh-oh. I think we've lost.
We can't push it. Just like a baby birthing out of the womb, we can't just push a baby out at 3 months because we have the idea, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. We have to allow it to come in the correct time. And the same thing happens for our visions, our goals, and our dreams. If we jump too quickly, as much as we're inspired, then what we're doing is we are moving faster than what divine time might have set up to align with us. And we kind of miss the doorways that are meant for us, and that's what sends it off track.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get a doorway. We'll always get a doorway. It just might not be the highest value doorway. You know, It's like, was that the old TV show, Let's Make a Deal? What's behind door number 1, door number 2, door number 3?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And, so the thing that I told everybody we were going to be talking about today is about living life to the fullest. So do you have some suggestions for viewers that would help them to understand how to watch the signs and how to move into the most fun life? You know, because I think that's really what it's all about, is get to that fun life, that joy space.
Yes. I think the first step is really understanding what is it that fulfills me. And most people, if you ask them that, they're not quite going to know. It's just like asking the question of, what do you like to do for fun? Oftentimes that will stop a person in their tracks because they'll go, fun? What is that? So
not going to go to work.
That's right. So we have to understand what it is that fulfills us. What is fun? You know, what do we truly want out of life? And oftentimes we'll find it's not the materialistic things that come up, or it's not the form that comes up when we start to consider that. It's more of an essence. We want beauty, or we want community, or we want love, or we want joy. We're going to step into essences that we want. So once we understand, okay, those are the things that I want to experience, then it's about looking at life. Well, are the things that I'm doing right now fulfilling those essences? And if they're not fulfilling those essences, then it's the process of cutting things out of life. It's the process of deconditioning your life and deconditioning yourself. Because as you decondition your life and cut things out, all of the emotions are going to start to come up because you have space now to feel them. And to understand where those emotions are coming from, that what identity is really living out that life, you have the ability then to say, okay, that's not really who I am. What is the identity that I am going to step into? Who is it I'm going to be that lives a fulfilled life versus the one that lives in the shadows or the doubts or the excuses or the it's not time, I don't have the money, or I can't do this. And we are able to then start stepping into that fulfilling life.
Yeah, and we don't, I think, really ever know what that's going to look like until we get there. Because again, I think if you get attached to what you think it might look like, you end up selling yourself short, just like going for door number 2.
Yes, it's not going to look like anything you've ever dreamed. You probably can't even fathom it.
Yeah.
You're truly stepping into the life of your fulfillment. Because the vision that you're looking from is from that old person. And the old person can't create a new life. And so if you can stay open and stay organic and stay cognizant of, what are the things I'm starting to feel that feel like fear or anxiety? Or what are the things I'm starting to feel that feel like joy or excitement, or the things that I was seeking to fulfill? Then all of a sudden you begin to realize that you're on a bridge and you're crossing a bridge. And that bridge takes a little bit of time because just like a snake's shedding its skin, that old skin of yours is starting to rub off. And then that new person is starting to emerge. And by the time you cross that bridge, you'll have someone that's completely brand new that you don't recognize, nor does anyone else recognize. And it's the way to live a life of aliveness, because then every single life is lived from fresh eyes. Every single day is lived from fresh eyes.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the old Grimm fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel. And the one thing that I continually try to do in my life is to follow the little breadcrumbs of my joy line. If it's leading me in the direction of joy, then I'm probably going in the right direction.
Yes.
And somewhere along the way, before I ever came in, I left that trail.
Yes. Yes. It's really no different than driving a car. If you're moving in towards empty, then you're going in the wrong direction. You're going to stall out. If you are moving towards full, if you have a full tank always, then you're going in the direction that you're supposed to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you're writing another trilogy?
I am writing another trilogy, and I'm looking forward to completing it this summer. And it feels very exciting to me. It feels like the manual that we should have each come in with as a baby to tell us how to live life. It's got all the answers.
You don't do anything small, honey. And so, like one book, you do them 3 at a time. I love it.
Well, we are multidimensional, and this next trilogy is a multidimensional experience, just like we are.
Yeah, and I think people tend to forget that. They think that in order to create something, that I've got to sit there with my pencil and my paper and struggle with it, when we've got aspects in hundreds of dimensions that are very competent in all kinds of things, and you can set one of your aspects loose right in that book, and before you know it, she's finished that one, and you've got another one working on the second one, and yet a third person working on the third one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's way cool. That is way cool. So how can people find out more about Simran?
Sure. My website is iamsimran.com, iamsimran.com. And on there I've got, free things like the radio shows and the magazine everyone can access. And then I also have my books and CDs, and I am getting back out and speaking again and doing shows and things like that. So whatever is, what someone wants, it's on the website. They just have to go there and figure it out.
That is fantastic. And I just so treasure you as my friend, and I want everybody to get to know you and find your stuff. So listeners, go check out iamsimran.com and get to know her and the wisdom that she has laid out for us in her books. And she's got some amazing meditations. So go check it out. And thank you so much, Simi, for coming today, because this is a pleasure always to get to see you.
Oh, it's always wonderful, Jean. I love everything that you do, and I applaud your books and your shows, and just your entire life's work has been an incredible asset to this earth.
As yours has. And viewers, next week my guest is going to be Kelly Kucha, and she is a reinventor. So we're going to learn about how to reinvent ourselves for success. I'm very excited about that. Since I'm feeling pregnant, I want to know how to go on and give the birth. So this has been a great show. Thanks so much, Simran.
Thank you for having me.
And viewers, remember, until next time, people who take responsibility for their lives create the reality they desire. I love you all. Ciao.